As America approaches its 250th birthday, it's worth asking a simple but important question: what did the founders actually mean when they wrote the First Amendment? You're watching Faith and Freedom 250, a series from the Herzog Foundation exploring the Christian foundations of American liberty and why they still matter today.
Separation of church and state is a phrase most Americans recognize. It's used often in our national conversations. But here's what may surprise you. The phrase separation of church and state appears nowhere in America's founding documents. Not in the Declaration of Independence, not in the Constitution, not even in the Bill of Rights. That phrase comes from a single letter written by Thomas Jefferson on January 1st, 1802 to the Danbury Baptist Association. And the founders would likely be shocked by how its meaning has been twisted over the last 225 years.
The First Amendment enshrines some of our most sacred rights as citizens of a free nation. It safeguards God-given freedoms and clearly defines how the government and the people relate to one another. In its very first words, the First Amendment guarantees the government will not interfere with the religious faith of American citizens. That protection allows religious movements to flourish and to help shape the moral character of the United States.
The argument for religious freedom is far older than America itself. The First Amendment was a direct response to centuries of abuse under authoritarian regimes in Europe. Across the pond, governments often sanctioned an official church and forced citizens to support it through taxes, even when they didn't believe what the church taught. And some European nations backed the Roman Catholic Church. Others enforced state-sponsored Protestant churches. Beginning in the 16th century under Elizabeth I, the Protestant Church of England reigned supreme. In many cases, church membership and adherence to a specific faith were required for public service and advancement. Taxes funded churches people didn't attend. Dissenters faced punishment, loss of political opportunity, exile, and even execution for heresy.
That oppression drove many to leave the Old World for the New World in America. Early settlers came to English North America seeking new lives with freedom to worship as they chose. But even in the colonies, the long arm of English rule still reached across the Atlantic, exerting a powerful force.
America's founding documents were written over the course of 2 decades. The Declaration of Independence in 1776 justified breaking away from the British Empire. After independence was secured, the United States Constitution in 1787 established the framework for the government of the nation. The last set of documents, the Bill of Rights in 1779, addressed the guaranteed rights of American citizens. The First Amendment stated that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
During that same historical period, the founders and first legislative bodies made it clear they were comfortable with religion playing an active role in public life. In 1785, James Madison wrote that a person's duty to God comes before any duty owed to the state. To his generation, liberty was a sacred right bestowed on humans by God, not a privilege granted by government. In 1786, Jefferson's Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom disestablished the Church of England and affirmed that no person should be compelled to support any religion and that all should be free to profess their beliefs. And in 1787, Congress declared in the Northwest Ordinance that religion, morality, and knowledge were essential to good government and human happiness.
Religion wasn't hidden away, it was foundational. So it's not surprising that among the 5 freedoms listed in the First Amendment, religion holds a preeminent place. In a single fragment of a sentence, the founders struck a delicate balance. Government may not control religion, but religion must remain free to influence conscience. What they didn't say is just as important. The Constitution never claims that government must be free from religious influence.
George Washington reminded Americans in his farewell address that religion and morality were indispensable supports of national prosperity, and morality cannot prevail in a society without religion. For Washington and many of his contemporaries, religion was not a threat to liberty, it was a guardian of liberty. Congress employed chaplains from the very beginning. Presidents issued proclamations calling for national days of prayer and thanksgiving. Many official oaths were taken on Bibles. Schools used religious texts to educate children. John Adams summed it up plainly, quote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other," end quote.
The founders understood something critical: the roles of religion and government. They comprehended that when religion is free, people are guided by conscience, not compulsion. When faith is suppressed, morality becomes subject to the whims of politicians. The founders realized that danger. They knew that if government ever became the ultimate moral authority, freedom would not survive. That's why they created a nation where churches, synagogues, and other faith communities could flourish independent of state control, and even challenge the government when it overstepped.
The founders did not envision a secular republic. They envisioned a religiously free one. The First Amendment wasn't written to remove religion from public life, but to keep government from forcing faith underground. It was designed to shield the church from the state, not silence the church before the state, independent of state control, and even challenge the government when it overstepped.
2.5 centuries later, that truth still matters. The First Amendment didn't create freedom from religion. It guaranteed the freedom of religion for people of every faith or no faith at all. Liberty requires virtue, and virtue rarely thrives without faith. That's the foundation the founders built, and the freedom we're called to preserve. This is Faith and Freedom 250 from the Herzog Foundation.